Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star 2 Land of Origin based on novel. So let's start. Night had just fallen when Luo Fong and Morosa arrived at Dreamflower Tower. It seems we are the earliest to arrive, Luo Fong said leisurely as he sat down, Morosa taking a seat to one side, surrounded by buildings shaped like blossoms, with numerous attendants waiting outside each structure. The green-robed attendant said with a smile, "Supreme, the other guests should be arriving soon." "Ha. I must be the earliest one again." A mountainous figure flew into the area with a hearty laugh, with the attendant who was responsible for receiving him tossed aside. "Oh!" the mountainous figure exclaimed in surprise as he looked towards Luo Fong. "Someone's earlier?" Luo Fong observed this mountainous figure as the green-robed attendant introduced him. "Supreme, this is one of the top artifact refining masters in Huyang City, the sect leader of Heavenly Flame Sect, Shong Tianyang." "Haha, which divine monarch is this?" Shong Tianyang approached with a warm smile. Luo Fong also stood up. "Brother Luo, he must be new to Huyang City," Shong Tianyang said with a smile. "If you don't mind, how about we sit together? Please." Luo Fong too was fond of making friends, having come to the land of origin to see more of the world. He glanced at Morosa, who obediently moved to the farthest corner. After all, he was only a true god of void space on the surface and shouldn't sit too close to two eternal true gods. "I, Shong Tianyang, love making friends in Huyang City. I always wish to befriend any new eternal true god," Shong Tianyang said as he sat down. "Indeed, I have just arrived in Huyang City and can count the number of friends I've made on one hand," Luo Fong said. "Today, you've gained one more friend in me," Shong Tianyang said with a laugh. "If Brother Luo he encounters any trouble in Huyang City in the future, feel free to see me. After all, I specialize in artifact refining, having connections with various forces." Luo Fong nodded. To be one of the top in artifact refining in Huyang City, Brother Shong's strength is indeed remarkable. He had practiced the body refining secret technique, Primal Chaos Great Strength Diagram, which is a body refinement method. Since a godly body can recover even after damage, the difficulty of body refining is somewhat lower than that of artifact refining. Even so, it was a considerable effort for Luo Fong to thoroughly understand the first level of the Primal Chaos Great Strength Diagram, foundation building. This made him all the more admire those genuine artifact refining masters. "We all have our strengths," Shong Tianyang said humbly with a smile. While they were talking, a winged man flew in, naturally exuding a decadent air. No one paid him any heed as he entered a building on his own and sat down to drink by himself. "That eternal true god's name is Sang Shueyun," Shong Tianyang said. "He's one of the eternal true gods who always comes to Dreamflower Tower's 100 Flowers banquet, along with me. We are love rivals." "Love rivals?" Luo Fong asked in surprise. Shong Tianyang shook his head with a sigh. "Unfortunately, while I have intentions, the Dreamflower Tower Master is heartless." Luo Fong found it interesting that both of these eternal true gods were pursuing the Dreamflower Tower Master. "You'll understand the charm of the Dreamflower Tower Master when you see her," Shong Tianyang said, suddenly noticing another arriving eternal true god. This eternal true god was formed by condensing mist, their figure obscure and hard to see, with only one eye calmly observing the surroundings. "Who might this be?" Luo Fong asked curiously. Shong Tianyang whispered, "That's Lord Bai Wu of the Six Lords Alliance." Luo Fong was puzzled. "The Six Lords Alliance is one of the covert forces in Huyang City," Shong Tianyang explained. "It said that these six eternal true gods often cultivated and sparred together, eventually forming the Six Lords Alliance. They are one of the 19 dark forces in Huyang City." 19 dark forces? Luo Fong nodded. "Haven't you purchased any detailed information about Huyang City?" Shong Tianyang asked. "No," Luo Fong shook his head. Had he done so, it would have been too boring. A journey of cultivation is about the surprises. The official powers in Huyang City are the city owner's mansion, the Huyang Guards, and Huyang's 10 great legions. These official powers are mainly managed by the 5 great families, Shong Tianyang explained with simplicity. Each of the 5 great families has an extraordinary background, some even being of the royal family. Luo Fong nodded, as this was something he understood. In the Yu Kingdom, there were 5 godly kings, and their family members, accumulated over the long years, were numerous. Naturally, they would be sent to various primal chaos prefectures to occupy some high-ranking positions. The official forces are led by the 5 great families. They have formidable strength and terrifying backgrounds. But in this world, ultimately, strength is what speaks. No matter how intimidating the background, it's not as reliable as real, tangible strength. That's why the forces formed by some eternal true gods naturally influence the entire Huyang city. The 19 dark forces also permeate Huyang city. Even the residents of Huyang have to pay a residence fee to them, Shong Tianyang said. Besides these forces, there are many weaker families. Most of them are simply conducting business, engaging in alchemy, artifact refining, or establishing sects. We, the independent eternal true gods, have much less influence, Shong Tianyang said cheerfully. We're also not interested in competing for control over Huyang city. Luo Fong nodded in understanding. From what he knew, the sum of the casual and ordinary family eternal true gods in a large city exceeded the number of official and dark powers. There are also some major forces from the land of origin with branches in Huyang city, and while the branches may be ordinary, they can call upon some terrifying experts at any time. Shong Tianyang shook his head. The waters here are too deep. Once you get involved, you could lose your life at any moment. Luo Fong found his newly made friend, Shong Tianyang, quite interesting. Brother Luo which faction do you belong to? Shong Tianyang asked. None, Luo Fong replied. When I came to Huyang city, I just brought a servant with me. Shong Tianyang laughed. You've just come to Huyang city. It's very easy for some forces to exploit you. I'll give you some intelligence. You'd better be careful and keep an eye out. As he spoke, he flicked his finger, and a stream of light flew towards Luo Fong. Luo Fong looked at the rather detailed intelligence report. Such information would normally cost at least 10 cosmic sands. Thank you, Brother Shong, Luo Fong said. It's nothing. Shong Tianyang suddenly looked outside. There are quite a number of eternal true gods who have come this time. 2 from the 5 great families have come. 2? Luo Fong looked over. 2 figures in purple and gold flew in. They each had 3 eyes and extremely sharp tails covered with purple and gold scales. They scanned the area with their eyes but did not interact with any eternal true gods. Instead, they flew towards a certain spot. The 2 eternal true gods from the Tuman clan of the 5 great families? Shong Tianyang exclaimed in surprise. It's rare for the royal family to visit the Dreamflower Tower. With the detailed intelligence that Luo Fong had received, he already knew that among the 5 great families, 2 were royal families, and the Tuman clan was the family of godly King Tuman of the 5 great godly kings of Yu Kingdom. With a godly king as their guardian, through endless ages of procreation, producing countless descendants, and with vast resources for cultivation, the Tuman clan naturally had a large number of elites. The 5 great families have eternal true gods coming too? That is indeed rare. The charm of the Dreamflower Tower Master is indeed extraordinary. The other eternal true gods who were present were also chatting leisurely and couldn't help but pay attention to the 2 eternal true gods from the Tuman clan. After all, the Tuman clan had a godly king behind them. Who wouldn't envy that? As the music sounded, the eternal true gods present all fell silent and looked towards the figure emerging from the void. The Dreamflower Tower Master? Luo Fong gazed from a distance. The Dreamflower Tower Master's godly body seemed to be a manifestation of the laws of enchantment, naturally drawing the attention of every eternal true god present, even making Luo Fong see the shadow of his wife, Shu Xin, on her. Such a powerful godly body. Does every eternal true god see their most favored traits when they look at her? Luo Fong mused, having already understood from the intelligence given by Shong Tianyang, yet still somewhat astonished. Tonight, there are 15 eternal true gods who have come to participate in the 100 Flowers banquet. This is also the honor of Dreamflower, the Dreamflower Tower Master said, her voice echoing everywhere and in the souls of every eternal true god. I have newly composed a melody, and I ask all eternal true gods to appreciate it. In attendance, there were 2 eternal true gods from the Tuman clan of the 5 great families, 5 true gods from the 19 great dark forces, and 8 others, including Luo Fong and Shong Tianyang, making up a total of 15 eternal true gods participating in the 100 Flowers banquet. The music rang out between heaven and earth, and snowflakes naturally began to flutter in the night. The world in the vision of Luo Fong and the others began to change. Such an impressive musical illusion technique. Luo Fong could feel the strength of the Dreamflower Tower Master's illusion technique, which was far superior to the one that his previously most satisfactory Aria employed. But for Luo Fong, who had the primal chaos pinnacle will, such a musical illusion technique still had a limited impact. Her musical illusion technique is obviously much stronger. If I don't use the 7 emotions of heart refining technique, this music has no effect on me. But once I use it, I'm afraid I won't be able to withstand it. Luo Fong was a little worried. Listened to the melodies of musicians like Aria with the 7 emotions of heart refining technique, and felt his emotions surge and his eyes fill with tears. Under the Dreamflower Tower Master's musical illusion technique, if he still used the 7 emotions of heart refining technique, he would definitely be more deeply immersed and might even lose his composure. Morosa, protect me while I practice, Luo Fong communicated telepathically. Morosa, who was eating and drinking alone in a corner, looked up and hurriedly responded mentally, Master, rest assured, I will protect you diligently. The Dreamflower Tower Master's musical illusion technique only enveloped the 15 eternal true gods. Those servants and attendants were not privileged enough to be served by the Dreamflower Tower Master's efforts. Resolving his will, Luo Fong then used the 7 emotions of heart refining technique. With the secret technique in operation, the original music he was listening to suddenly increased its power exponentially, plunging Luo Fong completely into the world of the soul at once. The 2 eternal true gods from the Tuman clan listened to the melody. It's mediocre at best, far inferior to some performances at the royal capital. You can listen to it. However, in terms of emotional impact, it's far less than our family's 100 Calamities melody. As they listened and drank, their discussion showed that the music's impact on them was minimal. Most of the eternal true gods present were rather enjoying themselves. 2 eternal true gods, Shong Tianyang and Sang Shueyun, who were infatuated with the Dreamflower Tower Master, were so immersed in the music that their faces were marked with tears of emotion. Luo Fong, who was originally sitting cross-legged and listening, had now lost control. His invisible aura spread out, silently shattering the table in front of him, which startled Morosa in the corner, and even the green-robed attendant was surprised, Supreme Lord Luo He. Fortunately, the building was enveloped by a formation, keeping it intact. Who is this unknown eternal true god? To lose control during a 100 Flowers banquet? The other eternal true gods present were all surprised. Even Shong Tianyang, who was sitting beside Luo Fong and deeply immersed, opened his eyes and looked at Luo Fong. He was moved to tears, but he still maintained a clear perception of the outside world and was very far from losing control. Has my friend, brother Luo He, immersed himself so deeply? Shong Tianyang couldn't believe it. The 2 eternal true gods from the Tuman clan who had been drinking and chatting turned their heads, keenly watching Luo Fong in the distance as he outwardly released his aura. Is his spiritual will so weak? Merely a performance of a musical illusion technique and his lost control? It's likely he's an eternal true god who luckily broke through in some remote tribe and doesn't possess a secret technique to cultivate spiritual will, that's why he's so weak. Such a serious flaw in the mind is easily targeted. They watched with amusement. As members of the royal Tuman clan, they felt superior to the other eternal true gods outside their clan. In their view, these outsiders had crude secret techniques and inferior secret treasure weapons. Luo Fong, they thought, was just the type to have hardly cultivated his spiritual will, lucky to become an eternal true god. What a fine 100 Flowers banquet, but his ruined the mood. The tall figure covered in black fur, with eyes full of anger, had been deeply immersed in the music, enjoying a first-rate experience, but Luo Feng's actions had disturbed his pleasure. He was none other than Lai Mo, the 3rd leader of the Blood Python Association from the Dark Forces. A newly emerged eternal true god is not worth much concern. A figure cloaked in black scales sipped his drink. The Dreamflower Tower Master will soon ask him to leave, otherwise, he will disrupt the entire banquet. This black-scaled figure was the leader of the Blood Python Association. Interesting, Lord Bai Wu observed Luo Fong with one eye from beneath his misty form. At this moment, the other eternal true gods in the hall were also paying attention to Luo Fong. After all, an eternal true god releasing his aura would naturally trigger the vigilance of others, a kind of instinct. Seeing this, the Dreamflower Tower Master who had been performing the musical illusion technique had no choice but to temporarily stop. I knew he was susceptible to musical illusion techniques, but I didn't expect him to lose control. The Dreamflower Tower Master was helpless. She had to consider the feelings of other esteemed guests. Once the illusion technique ceased, Luo Fong quickly regained his composure, becoming aware that everything in his room, the table, food, and drinks, had all been utterly destroyed. The eternal true gods from the surrounding buildings were all looking in his direction, seemingly discussing something. I've lost control, Luo Fong thought to himself. It seems that practicing the 7 emotions heart-refining technique isn't quite suitable while listening to the music of the Dreamflower Tower Master. Sorry about that, Brother Shong, Luo Fong, who had been sitting cross-legged, immediately got up and apologized to Shong Tianyang beside him. It's nothing, Shong Tianyang laughed heartily. I just didn't expect you to be more immersed than me. The Tower Master's music is indeed extraordinary, Luo Fong smiled. It brought back many memories. I'll go for a walk outside, Brother Shong. You all carry on. Luo Fong glanced at Morosa and then walked towards the exit. Morosa promptly followed. As Luo Fong left the building, he nodded slightly towards the Dreamflower Tower Master in apology, then led his servant Morosa away. He did not look at me with passion. The Dreamflower Tower Master felt a hint of disappointment in her heart. Being immersed in the illusion didn't necessarily mean falling in love with her, but his resistance to the illusion technique is clearly weak. There's still a chance. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the slight disruption. The Dreamflower Tower Master's soothing voice arose, naturally comforting their minds. This unfamiliar eternal true god probably isn't very strong. Apart from that, his spiritual will seems rather weak. As the group of eternal true gods watched Luo Fong leave, they all formed their own opinions. Master, aren't we attending the 100 Flowers banquet any longer? Morosa followed Luo Fong. There's not much point in attending, Luo Fong shook his head. Without practicing the 7 emotions of heart-refining technique, the illusion technique wasn't worth mentioning. But if he did practice it, he temporarily exceeded his own limits and would lose control. Compared to that, musicians at the true god of void space level were more suitable for him. Supreme. Green-robed attendant Yulu also followed along. Arrange another place, Luo Fong instructed, and have Aria come over. The green-robed attendant nodded and immediately began to arrange it via a transmission token. After a while, she whispered, Supreme, the 100 Flowers banquet is being held today. The Dreamflower Tower has many guests, and Aria is performing elsewhere at the moment. It might take a while before she can come over. Oh! Luo Fong scanned with a glance. His perfect divine body's sensitivity immediately locked onto a hall, where Aria was performing. Asterisk 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 asterisk. In that hall, Aria stood there, her body covered in vines that stretched out and coiled around various musical instruments. The instruments resonated naturally under the drive of divine power, plunging the guests into an illusory realm. As soon as the performance ended, Aria immediately bowed to take her leave. Wait a moment. One of the young men sitting in the place of honor spoke up. This young man had 4 purple horns on his head like a crown and eyes burning with purple flames. Anyone with a bit of knowledge could recognize that this youth was a scion of the Moli clan from Huyang City. Aria had to pause. I've been to the Dreamflower Tower many times and listened to countless pieces of music, but you are the most talented musician I've encountered, the young man from the Moli family began. I, Moli Lian, formally invite you to become a musician for our Moli clan. Are you willing? Aria's heart trembled at the invitation from the scion of the Moli clan. She didn't want to go. Entering such a top clan could mean becoming a mere plaything. Next to Moli Lian sat a red-haired man who spoke with a laugh. Aria, Moli Lian is a genius among the younger generation of the Moli family and has even been personally mentored by Commander Moli Xiao of the Huyang Legion, with great prospects of becoming an eternal true god. His personal invitation is an honor for you. What is there to hesitate about? I am a musician of the Dreamflower Tower. I cannot leave without permission, Aria said softly. As long as you agree, the Dreamflower Tower Master will still give face to my Moli clan, Moli Lian said with a smile. Young Master Moli Lian. I don't want to go, Aria said with all the courage she could muster. If she really went to the Moli clan, she would have no way to contend with the core members of such a powerful clan. She would become a disposable plaything. Moli Lian's eyebrows slightly furrowed. Seeing this, the red-haired man immediately said, Aria, you're from the Thousand Leaves Vine clan, right? If I'm not mistaken, doesn't your clan lie within our Blood Python Association's territory? The Blood Python Association is one of the 19 dark forces within Huyang City, secretly controlling the entire city. Aria's face changed upon hearing this. The Thousand Leaves Vine clan has 9 true gods of void space and more than 10,000 true gods, who reside in the Snow Winter district of Huyang City, the red-haired man said, looking at her. I should remember correctly. Within the Blood Python Association's territory, for every cultivator with even a bit of background, he remembered them all clearly. Because he needed to find fat sheep, and once he found them, they would have to be slaughtered. Palace Master Duan, Aria hesitated, she didn't want to relent. The path of cultivation was not meant for being treated as a plaything, but she was afraid of the Blood Python Association. Duan Moyun, your Blood Python Association's strength is just average, said Moli Lian with a light chuckle, his eyes also turned colder. The red-haired man also looked at Aria with some annoyance. Just a little musician, not appreciating the favor, get lost. Aria was on tenterhooks and didn't dare to leave. She could see that Palace Master Duan Moyun was very annoyed, and if she really just walked away like this, she feared it would bring great disaster to the entire Thousand Leaves Vine clan. Just as Aria was caught in a dilemma, a purple-robed attendant hurried into the grand hall, repeatedly apologizing, Young Master Moli Lian, Palace Master Duan Moyun, please do not be angry. Since young Master Moli Lian personally invited her, it's naturally Aria's good fortune. Let me persuade Aria. Moli Lian nodded slightly. The red-haired man, Duan Moyun, smirked. This little musician has quite the courage. Yes, the purple-robed attendant agreed, about to pull Aria out with him. Suddenly, the entire grand hall quieted down. Everyone present seemed to become part of a painting, unable to move or make any sound. At this moment, a black-haired man with a simple-looking servant walked into the hall. Dreamflower Tower? Luo Fong sneered, I said I admire musician Aria. How dare you Dreamflower Tower offer a musician I'm interested in to some kid? Everyone present was in a state of shock, including young Master Moli Lian and Palace Master Duan Moyun. Their fear was immense. An eternal true god turning hostile could easily crush them to death. Although they had their backgrounds, it did not equate to power. For instance, if Luo Fong didn't care for their backgrounds at this moment, they were just 2 true gods of void space. Supreme Lord Luo He, the green-robed attendant, also entered the grand hall, extremely anxious. It's our Dreamflower Tower's fault. Shut up, Luo Fong said. The green-robed attendant immediately fell silent. Luo Fong glanced over Palace Master Duan Moyun and young Master Moli Lian and said indifferently, from today onwards, the 2 of you are not allowed to step into the Dreamflower Tower. And you, Dreamflower Tower, Luo Fong's eyes swept over the green-robed attendant and the purple-robed attendant. Aria, you watch her. If you can't protect her, hand her over to me, understand? The green-robed attendant nodded repeatedly. As for the Blood Python Association, the Moli clan, the Dreamflower Tower, anyone who's not satisfied can come to me, Luo Fong said with a slight smile. I'll entertain them warmly. After that, the invisible aura receded, and everyone in the grand hall regained their freedom. But they were all still intimidated, not daring to make a sound for a while. Aria, come with me, Luo Fong said, then walked straight out. Heh. Morosa looked around and laughed a few times before walking out. He'd been ordered not to cause trouble, but if his master Luo Fong caused trouble, Morosa was absolutely in favor. Aria and the green-robed attendant followed out, both somewhat dazed. Only young Master Moli Lian, Palace Master Duan Moyun, the purple-robed attendant, and a group of their subordinates were left in the grand hall. This is too. Moly Lian felt indignant yet helpless. Completely disregarding the Blood Python Association, the Dreamflower Tower, and the Moly clan, the red-haired man, Duan Moyun, was furious and immediately reported the detailed situation to the Blood Python Association's president and vice president through the transmission token. At this moment, the president of the Blood Python Association and a vice president were attending the 100 Flowers banquet. We must inform the tower master. The purple-robed attendant also immediately reported the whole situation to the Dreamflower Tower master. Luo Fong arrived at the familiar Orchid Star Hall, where food and wine had been prepared in advance. The green-robed attendant whispered, "Supreme, today's events might cause some trouble." Luo Fong glanced at her, saying nothing. He had already been very restrained. To avoid causing great trouble for the musician Aria, he hadn't made a move. When he heard Palace Master Duan Moyun threatening with the Thousand Leaves Vine clan, Luo Fong felt a murderous intent. Such coercion, threatening to compel through clan allegiance, was something Luo Fong despised the most. It would have been satisfying to kill, but it would bring Aria a lot of trouble. Hence, he was very restrained, just giving a few reminders, which was already very merciful. Supreme Lord Luo He, a Blood Python Association member, walked to the outside of the hall, respectfully saying, "Vice President Lai Mo is also attending the 100 Flowers banquet and, having heard about a small conflict between our Blood Python Association's Palace Master Duan Moyun and the Supreme, has specially sent me to invite the Supreme to the banquet." "You want me to attend the banquet?" Luo Fong said, holding his wine cup. "If he wants to see me, let him come in person. There's no reason for me to visit him." This video will end here.